So what is espresso? Espresso is coffee brewed under pressure to produce a concentrated coffee. To produce a concentrated coffee full of body, aroma, and flavor. So it's coffee brewed under pressure to produce a concentrated coffee full of body, aroma, and flavor. Body, aroma, and flavor. So as a barista, what do you think you need to produce espresso? So to produce espresso, you need four things. One, the machine, the espresso machine. Two, the grinder. Three, coffee beans. And four, the barista. Those are the four things you need to produce espresso. Now, to produce good espresso in terms of beans. So beans, you need dark roast beans. Beans, you need dark roast. Then how do you grind for the espresso machine when you're using this machine? Grinding, fine. So you have dark roast bean. Grinding, you grind, fine. You grind, fine. Okay. Then, how much coffee do you need in a portafilter? We normally have a single portafilter and double portafilter, isn't it? So yesterday we said that for the single espresso, you use between 7 to 9 grams of coffee. Andika, grammage. Single, 7 to 9 grams of coffee. Double, 14 to 18 grams of coffee. So in some coffee shop, they even use weighing scale to get it right. One coffee shop will use 18 grams for the double. Another coffee shop will use 14 grams for the double, and so on and so forth. So grammage might vary from one coffee shop to another. Okay? So you roast, you go for the dark roast, you grind fine, and then the grammage you must get right. Okay? Now, you know, you are aware you are supposed to tamp and all that. So, how long should espresso flow? The extraction time of espresso, right? Extraction time, 25 seconds. Extraction time, 25 seconds. But some people do 20 to 22. There are people who are doing 20 to 22. So it will depend again with the coffee shop you're working at, okay? 20 to 22 seconds, you can do that. The ratio of, for example, coffee to water. The ratio of coffee to water also differs depending with the type of espresso you are making. So, can you write types of espresso? You have types of espresso. So the ratio will depend with the type of espresso that you are making. So number one, we have one called ristretto. Up there you can see it, ristretto. That one called ristretto. But because it's an Italian language, so you say ristretto. Ristretto coffee. Ristretto. So for ristretto, the ratio is normally 1:1. The ratio of water is 1:1 for the ristretto coffee, espresso, ratio 1:1. Then we have just the normal espresso, ratio 1:2. Ratio is 1:2. So 1 gram of coffee, 2 grams of water, ratio 1:2. And then for the third type of espresso is espresso lungo, 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 espresso lungo. So we have espresso ristretto, the normal espresso, and espresso lungo. Okay. So for the espresso lungo, the ratio is 1:3. So lungo has got a lot of water in it. Okay. So we have espresso ristretto, espresso itself, and espresso lungo. The word lungo means long. The word ristretto in English means restricted. Restricted. So you can restrict time when producing espresso ristretto. Espresso runs for 25 seconds, but you've done 15 seconds only. You have restricted time. That one is espresso ristretto. You can also restrict water. Then you call it espresso ristretto. So when you are making a certain type of espresso, the ratio differ from one type to another. Another thing about espresso is that its extraction time, we've talked about 25, some people think 20 to 22. Then how is it supposed to flow? Andika, right? It flows like honey stroke mouse tail flow. When you are extracting it, the way it drips into their cup should be honey-like or mouse tail-like flow. Then what is the amount of espresso you get in a cup? For single, up to 30 ml. For double, up to 60 ml. So the amount of espresso in a cup, for the single normally up to 30 ml, and then for the double up to 60 ml. Then how can you tell that you have extracted a perfect espresso? Right? A perfect espresso must have crema on top. Crema on top. A perfect espresso must have crema on top. A perfect espresso must have crema on top. A perfect espresso must have crema on top. And what is crema? Crema is a pale brown foam. Crema is a pale brown foam covering the surface of a well-brewed espresso. A pale brown foam covering the surface of a well-brewed espresso. So your espresso must have crema. We started by saying that you go for the dark roasted beans. When you're roasting these green coffee beans, these ones, the more you roast coffee beans, the more they become oily on the surface. The more you roast coffee beans, the more they become oily on the surface. So dark roasted coffee beans has got more oils on the surface, and it is that oil that gives you crema on top of coffee. This is what we call crema, this one. It comes from the coffee oils. And the oils we are talking about, you can only get them from the dark roasted beans. So if somebody asks you, why do you use dark roasted beans to produce espresso? At dark roasted has got more oils on the surface. That would give me crema. That is one reason though, among others. Okay? Yes. That's why we are using dark roasted. And then, to tell that you have produced A perfect espresso, you normally look at this, the end product. It should be like a brick, like this guy tried. And this one is called what? I said yesterday. How do you call this one? Caked. Caked coffee. This one. And it is very good, ladies. This one, this caked coffee.